Sergio Nunn from USA Today.
Yeah, I have a question for Randy and one for Lyoto. First, Randy, I guess you told ESPN this week that you were pretty sure this is going to be your last fight. I'm wondering why, what came about to lead you to this conclusion?
Nothing came about. It's been an ongoing transition for me. I kind of want to go out on my own terms and decide when enough is enough. And I think that time has come. So I've had a great camp. Everything is spot on. I can't wait till next week. It's been a fight I've been looking forward to for a long time, and finally going to happen. So, and I think it's time to focus on the other things I got going on in my life after this fight, and you know, I've pushed it pretty far. I don't think anybody's going to probably push it as far as I have the last 14 years. So,
was this something that you've known for a long time now that this would be it, or?
No, it's just something that's gone on. You know, I've questioned it, thought about it the last couple camps, and made the decision this time.
Okay.
Does the fact that this show is going to be, you know, the biggest show attendance-wise in UFC history, does that kind of make you, you know, did that play a part in your decision with the idea that you're going out on the biggest show ever? And how does this compare? You've been in, you know, several landmark shows in UFC history, like the Sylvia fight, some of the Liddell fights and everything that took the company to the next level. And how does it feel to be going into this type of a show?
Well, it's certainly exciting to be involved in a card like this with the guys that are on this card and have it be before a crowd of 55,000 or more, and kind of set a new attendance record. And the first fight in the province of Ontario, and there's a lot of firsts here, so it's certainly fun for me to be a part of that whole thing and part of that historical event. It really plays no factor in the decision. The decision I made has been one that's been coming for a while. You know, I realize I've pushed it a lot further as anybody's going to push it, and just feel like, you know, I want to go out on my terms, not after some injury or not after one or two or three losses, and, you know, have everybody else telling you should be retiring. I kind of want to do it when I want to do it, and I think now's the time.
And with Machida, I mean, when you look at him, I mean, you kind of mentioned that it's a fight that you really wanted. You know, a lot of people thought that maybe the Tony fight would be your last fight, and there was kind of that talk going around. Was it the fact that you got Machida offered to you that made you come back for this one last fight?
Well, it was a fight that, you know, they offered me a couple other guys, and I turned them down. And I've watched Lyoto for a couple of years now, and been, you know, very appreciative of the way he competes, and he just has such a unique style as an athlete. And felt like, you know, that those are the kind of fights that are intriguing and interesting for me to kind of try and figure out and to test myself. And so this fight came around, and it was taken away, and it came back, and I thought, you know what, this is one I've wanted, and it's a fun and exciting camp, and it's been all of those things. So I'm glad it's here.
And after the Tony fight was over, and how would you describe kind of like that whole thing? I mean, it was kind of like was that a big deal to you in a sense? It was a kind of a boxer versus MMA the first time it was done in UFC at that level, like handpicked to represent MMA. It was because like the reaction of the crowd and everything was very different than, you know, pretty much most or any fight that I can recall. I mean, do you kind of have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty unique, you know, chanting UFC and, you know, to have the first kind of world-class boxer step up and kind of put his money where his mouth was, and to be the guy that was selected to kind of represent mixed martial arts was all an honor for me. You know, I'm glad the fight was away, and something I took very seriously. I had no illusions or nothing to prove in the striking realm to go out and try and play around with a world-class boxer. You know, it was a mixed martial arts fight. I kind of made him fight that fight, and that worked out.
Okay, thanks, and you know, congratulations on just a fantastic career.
Thank you.
Just one for Randy. Randy, how you doing? Just wanted to get your take on this match stylistically. I know you've touched on it before, and it's kind of interesting because Machida's the kind of fighter that likes to take the center of the octagon and keep that gap, and obviously conversely, you like to close the distance. Any concern that you can have any difficulty doing that at all with Lyoto?
Well, I think it's been an interesting camp, and I've had to learn some new things, and he certainly has a complex and unique style, and it's been fun to kind of study that and try to figure out what I think will work and how how to get the job done. He's a tremendous fighter, a tremendous athlete. So hopefully our training camp has been on, and we've got the right answers, and we won't really know until the 30th.
Randy, first of all, I mean, how is your body feeling at this point? And was that an issue, a concern for you, or a factor in your decision?
No, I wasn't really a factor. I think that was one of the things I struggle with, is that I am healthy as ever. I feel great. I absolutely have the ability to continue to compete and compete at this level. But I don't want to. I just feel like I've stretched it and pushed it, and don't want to wait till I have those issues to think about and to weigh into training camp or weigh into a fight. I think that's kind of part of going out on my terms is to go. I have a whole bunch of other things that I enjoy doing in my life, and I don't want to wait till I have that injury that I have doctors telling me, oh, look, you can't fight anymore. Or, I know that's going to affect all the other things I like to do. I like to hunt. I like to ride my bike. I like to do a lot of other things, and I'm healthy and can enjoy the rest of my life right now. I don't want to wait too long.
And I know, I'm pretty sure that when you retire, you have to sort of file retirement papers with the UFC. Are you planning to do that right after? To leave it open-ended?
I don't know if there's, really a retirement paper, but I'm sure that they're probably going to have ideas for other fights. They're going to try and entice me into coming back and fighting again, and I anticipate all those decisions and that those thoughts. But we'll see that goes. I see myself hopefully being with the UFC and Zuffa and getting involved in some other way, shape, or form. I know there's a lot of things to be done politically in a lot of places. Certainly, New York State comes to mind, but I enjoyed commentating when I did that for a couple of years. That's someplace I could see myself going back to and kind of continuing to give that fighter's perspective, in the booth for pay-per-views. And so we'll see what Zuffa wants to do and how they want to keep me involved.
Generally, when you fight, I mean, do you tend to notice the crowd reaction? Do you try and make a point of kind of soaking it in, the experience of going through the crowd when you enter, things like that, and if not, I mean, will you make a point of trying to do that this time around?
Well, I think it's always something you feel. Definitely an energy there that you stoke in, and it kind of drives you and motivates you, both walking into the arena and being in there during the course of the fight. You feel the rise and fall of the crowd. It's not something you really tune into because you're kind of focused on your opponent, but it's certainly something you sense, you feel.
Do you think it'll feel any different now with 55,000 people as opposed to 20,000?
I'm sure it's going to be, a lot more powerful with that many people. I'm sure they're going to blow the roof off that place. It's going to be an amazing experience.
First question is for Randy. Randy, obviously going into this fight, so much talk about the retirement thing, but I was talking to Nick Thompson and Ricardo Almeida, who both recently retired, and they said, their mind might have been changed, coming off a win. Will a win over Machida, I mean, is there any chance of that, changing anything?
No, I don't think so. Win, lose, draw, it doesn't really factor into the equation. It's about where I'm at in my life, and I've been doing this a long time. It's about the journey and it's about the performance. As long as I go and have a good performance, I'll be satisfied and happy either way. So, it's all good.
And when you had the you had retired the one time before after the third Chuck Liddell fight. What was the just in your own mind? You wanted to come back after that. I mean, what's the biggest difference now as opposed to then?
A lot of different circumstances regarding me stepping out back then. I was going through a pretty awful divorce and just a lot of things stacked up. And so I think I needed the break. I needed to kind of let the dust settle and get back to feeling like me and get back to training and all those other things back then. It's a lot different circumstance now. I'm perfectly content, happy. My life is going fantastic. In fact, it couldn't be going any better. Coming off 3 victories and just feeling like everything's firing, everything's going really well. So I just think it's the right time for me to hang it up and go out with this competition. And it's my 30th fight. I've been doing this for 14 years. It's time to focus on the other things in my life and enjoy my life a little bit.
Randy, I was wondering if you could speak briefly about the timing of making the announcement, specifically related to, instead of waiting till the post-fight press conference, you're making this announcement before the fight, getting it out of the way, just focusing on the fight. Was it just that, or what was the reason for telling the fight?
There's no real reason. Somebody always asks me, and having had it on my mind, and I answered the question honestly, and I think, obviously once the cat's out of the bag, it's out of the bag. Obviously I waited. Last time this happened, obviously a lot of different circumstances, and I had a lot of personal things going on, and therefore I kept my decision to myself, and I didn't want it to be all about that, and kind of that at that stage of things, with the sport exploding the way it was back then, I think it would have taken on a life of its own, and maybe it has to some extent here, but this fight, this card is so huge that, me retiring really isn't that big a deal in the grand scheme of things with regard to this show. So I just felt like I answered the question honestly when the first person asked it, and now obviously everybody's talking about it, but it's not really that big a deal. What's most important is the fight, this fight card, the amazing crowd that's coming together for this show in Toronto, and I'm excited to be a part of it. Last fight or 5 more fights, it doesn't really matter. It's still an honor to both be a part of this show and to be fighting an athlete like Lyoto, so it's going to be great.
Are you able to approach this fight with the same vigor that you've approached every other fight?
This camp has been no different than any other camp that I've had with regard to its intensity and its direction and all those things. So, really, everybody's just talking about this announcement in the last week or two. All the work's done pretty much for this fight. We're on our last hard week of training, so I've done my job. I've done the work I needed to do.
Pressure that he felt before.
Our next question comes from Mike Straka with Fighting Words.
My question was already asked and answered. Thanks. Hey, congrats, Randy.
And we do have a follow-up question from Dave Meltzer with Yahoo Sports. Please go ahead.
Yeah, this is for both. One question for Randy and also one for Lyoto. Randy, are there any things like official as far as acting things or things that you're going to be planning on doing, coming up the rest of this year?
Character with Vinnie Jones and Dominic Purcell, kind of a die-hard type script action movie. So I'm excited about that. That's going to happen here at the end of May. And then we start shooting Expendables 2. Right now they're saying tentatively the 22nd of August. So definitely have 2 movies sitting there ready to go, and looking forward obviously to the Expendables and working with the whole group of guys again, and Stallone and the whole thing. So
now the first one I didn't catch the name of the May movie.
It was called Hijacked.
Hijack. Okay, and you're going to start filming that in May.
Yep, we're working on a start date sometime in May.